Nice job. Thank you, Unity Band. Standing ovation. I'm standing and I'm ovating here for you. Good morning and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center of Lansing, brought to you live streamed from our new Unity campus down on Washington Avenue. Here at Unity, our mission remains the same: to spiritually awaken to our oneness with God, each other, and all creation. And we hold a vision of seeing a world that is powerfully transformed through a growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. We say shared because it's not like there's a right and perfect answer. It's about understanding each of us have our own spiritual experience and to honor our past and the past of each other as we are on it, ever changing, ever evolving. So we begin our service with an ecumenical prayer. The enlightenment of the Buddha shines within us. The compassion of the Christ moves through us. The power of Jehovah strengthens and guides us. The presence of Allah surrounds and guards us. Wherever we are, the Tao is, and all is God. Well, it's been quite a week in our world, here especially in the United States. As I look back, the death of Deontay Wright up in Minneapolis area, the trial going on with Derek Chauvin and over George Floyd's murder. The FedEx shooting down in Indianapolis, highly Muslim population that was attacked. Our neighbors in Ontario going on an extreme shutdown right now because of COVID virus. And you know what? And I know there's been things going on in your life today. So let's just take a pause. Let's just take a minute. As we join together in a prayer for our neighbors, whoever they may be, those close, those far, but those that we share this planet with. And we pray with understanding and compassion in our hearts, knowing that divine light always shines, even in the darkest moments. We bless our medical community, our essential workers, all who are devoted to serving others in our times of need, in our day-to-day activities. We bless those in grief, whatever their loss, knowing that God within them is their strength. We lift our gaze to remember our shared humanity, our unity. As we center ourselves in God's divine presence within, we know the truth for each person in our neighborhood, on this planet. We are guided by wisdom arising in love as we act in ways that foster peace and wholeness for all. And so it is. And we continue with a prayer for Unity Spiritual Center. And Unity Spiritual Center is not this place. It is you and I. So let us go in this collective prayer time together as we embrace our journey of spiritual growth. We bless our times of wandering and wondering as we sit in the question. We give thanks that every path we've been on that has ended has redirected our attention to a new path with bountiful, unexpected blessings. We are right now living as a greater expression of love, a force for good in our neighborhood, in our own lives. We are receptive to the handprint of God guiding us to a greater understanding, to the fields of unlimited possibilities, to new opportunities, to be a meaningful light in our world. And we affirm this: Allah, Shalom, Namaste, Amen. Thank you. And this is the time we often do meet and greet. And we know we're into a newly evolving world. So, last night when I was leaving, the sun was coming over the building, and the light hit and lit up this tree. And it was just so gorgeous. And I thought, that's what we need to learn how to do for each other. Without touching, that sun was blessing that tree. So each of us can learn to greet and meet each other either with a namaste or with just that very simple activity of just coming from our heart, rubbing our hands, and sending energy, love, compassion, connection to each and every one. Safe and very powerful. What a beautiful blessing it is. So namaste. Greg, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Reverend Sharon. And good morning. My name is Greg Denning, and I'll be assisting with the service this morning. Today's daily word is prayer for others, inspired by Paul's letter to the church in Corinth. Paul wrote to the congregation, "I will pray with the Spirit, but I will pray with the mind also. I will sing praise with the Spirit, but I will sing praise with the mind also." A friend, someone said, knows the truth for you until you can know it for yourself. Praying for friends, family members, and those we haven't met, we center our awareness in the truth that each one for whom we pray is a living expression of God just as we are. Letting go of fear, we release thoughts of lack, illness, disharmony, or any limitations. We see each person for whom we pray abundantly blessed. We see each one warmed and comforted by divine love that lifts their hearts and brings harmony to their relationships. We affirm their abundant living, guided by divine love, wisdom, and understanding. We see each life unfolding in perfect divine order, enjoying security, health, and joy, and will affirm together with mind and heart, I know the truth for each person I hold in prayer. With mind and heart, I know the truth for each person I hold in prayer. And each month we highlight and focus on one of our ministry's core values. This month we are focusing on spiritual awakening as we continue our process of making this place our new church home. All of humanity is experiencing something unlike anything we have ever experienced before. The pandemic has invited us to explore our personal core values more deeply than ever before. We are each developing a new understanding of our oneness. We are understanding our diversity is not conflicting values, but a reflection of the infinite expression of spirit within us all. The spiritual tools we learn and put into practice help us to embrace the divine as the essence of our own being and to recognize this essence in everyone around us. We express our spiritual nature through positive relationships with others and in service to the movement of a shared spiritual awakening. And we seek to experience and live from a state of conscious oneness with God, each other, and all creation. And let's affirm that together. We seek to experience and live from a state of conscious oneness with God, each other, and all creation. And today we are coming to you by live streaming from our new sanctuary on Washington Road. At 2 o'clock, we are gathering on Zoom for a town hall to share all the latest information on our progress with the building, to talk about our next steps, and to answer any questions you might have. If you need the link to the Zoom meeting, go to the USCL discussion group page on Facebook or email Rev Sharon Ketchum at gmail.com. That's REVSHARONKETCHUM at gmail.com. While the building is still closed to meeting, we continue to offer classes on Zoom. Mondays at 1:30, we have A Course of Love with Lucille Olson. Wednesdays at 6 o'clock p.m. is our prayer circle. And Thursdays at 7 o'clock p.m. is A Course in Miracles with Dan and Carol Maynard. Monday through Fridays, the Zoom room is open to everyone for Conversation Cafe, which is an informal time to see other faces and talk about whatever comes up. Again, the Zoom link can be found at the USCL Facebook page or contact the church office. One team that is still very active is our prayer team. If you have prayer requests, you can make them on our website, email the church office, or make a request at our Wednesday night prayer service. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce Elizabeth Kunc, our guest soloist today. I'm sure she will have something wonderful for us.
better than a lie. Dark seems safer than the light. And everyone has a heart that loves to hide. Oh, I'm a mess and so are you. We've got walls nobody can get through. Oh, it may be hard, but the best thing we could ever do. Pretend to be something that you're not. Living life afraid of getting caught. There is freedom found when we lay our secrets down at the cross. So bring your brokenness and I'll bring mine. 'Cause love can heal what hurt divides. Mercy's waiting on the other side. If we're honest, if we're honest, it would change our lives. It would set us free. It's what we need to be. So bring your brokenness, I'll bring mine. 'Cause love can heal what hurt divides. Mercy's waiting on the other side. If we're honest.
If we're honest, how do you say the name of the composer of that? Francesca Battistelli.
Francesca Battistelli.
Oh, he just writes some beautiful piece. I know you're going to do another one for us
Yes,
later.
yes.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. We'll just change around here. So I have a new favorite composer. He does some beautiful, beautiful work. It's so good to see Elizabeth again. It's been over a year. Well, last week we started on a series on our spiritual toolbox, what we have in it. And I started out by asking you, where do you stand on God? Do you see God as kind of a capricious being up in the sky that maybe takes vacations, needs to be cajoled, or somehow manipulated to do what it is that you need in your life? Or are you beginning to understand God as not a being, but beingness, the full presence of everything presence, the power, all the power in the world, all the knowledge in the world, all the love in the world? It is God as love, as a principle, as opposed to that we might have been brought up with an image of somebody sitting on a throne with a big demerit book that's going to punish us, and maybe if we're lucky we get rewarded. So the spiritual toolbox is something we all have. We gather information as we take classes, we read books, we have our own personal experiences. And so my toolbox is this well-worn little yellow box back here that really represents the basic premise that there's only one power and presence in the world. Whatever name you might call it, knowing that there's only one. This is not a world of duality in the spiritual sense, only in the human sense. In the human sense, we have these comparisons of tall and short, warm and cold, good and bad. But when we're talking about our spirituality, we're talking about a sea of continuity, of infinite variations, but still this great connective wave. So last week we talked about a couple tools that might be in your toolbox. I hope they are now, if they weren't before, especially after last week. Gratitude, which gratitude creates this vibrational magnetism within us. I had a little magnet here, this dragonfly to represent gratitude for me. It creates, we become magnets for more of the things we're grateful for, more of the things we appreciate. Because just like us, the whole world operates. We like to go where we're appreciated. We like to go where people like us to be, like that just feels good. And so it is with everything in the universe. And the other tool was the idea of imagination. And last week I brought up my kaleidoscope. I remembered the word this week. And though here there's little things in it that are quite identifiable, when you look through the kaleidoscope, it creates these shapes that quickens something within us, that takes things out of the ethers, the nothingness, until we start having ideas and we have thoughts. And that's how all things are created, through our imagination. And we get to decide really what we're going to imagine. We get to decide what we are going to co-create in this world. So this week I want to talk to you about, and I couldn't decide which way to call this, the kindness of ecology or the ecology of kindness. And my spiritual tool for that is a little reminder. This little guy, Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is probably the kindest character I've ever seen. When somebody's down, depressed, he doesn't try to analyze them. He just sits with them and does the kind thing that needs to be done, whether it's sharing his honey or sharing an arm over their shoulder. He just is basically kind. Kindness is just an incredible, incredible power that we all have as a way of showing up in this world. And the reason why it's such a wonderful, wonderful spiritual tool, it's got 3 really great benefits that we can measure. One single act of kindness gives you 3 rewards. First of all, when we do an act of kindness, in many ways we're very selfish because it really benefits us. The brain releases serotonin, endorphins, and oxytocin. These are all feel-good drugs in our body. This is like kindness is becoming like a drug addict of the very best kind, being really addicted to that feeling of well-being and wholeness just from being kind. And somebody who receives the kind act gets the same response physically within their body. So isn't that great? You're both feeling really good about this act of kindness. And then there's the third thing, that when we plan to do an act of kindness, our body has a stress release. Think about that. Planning to do something kind. Maybe you're baking and you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll take one of these muffins to my neighbor, my next door neighbor. That very act of planning to be kind allows you to be a little less stressful. Wow. Because we know what stress does to our body, so it's such a healthy thing for us to do physically. Emotionally, it's uplifting, and spiritually, it connects us. This act of kindness is like a soul-to-soul gesture. It connects us in ways that's just beyond anything physical that we can do. It connects us at a very, very deep level. And I think during this time of social distancing, that the more we could do acts of kindness, because we don't have to be physically close to do an act of kindness. We can leave a gift on somebody's front door. Maybe we pick a flower out of our garden and drop it off to somebody. It's one of those sweet, sweet surprises that we give to somebody else. But a great way for us to connect. So, I think of the number of ways that we could do little acts of kindness so that our well-being is a whole lot better, because there's been a lot of stress in this past year, even stress that we're not aware of, this low-lying kind of white noise pressuring on us. So you could put some plans together to reduce the stress, and you might want to think of leaving nice messages in places that strangers might find them. Isn't that always fun to surprise somebody with something nice? It's kind of like a fortune cookie with good message. So, maybe it's just a little note that says, you can do it. You fold it over and you stick it someplace. You're out walking, there's about the neighborhood little library things that they have. Or, you're an awesome person. You got this. God always has your back. Just one of those little supportive phrases to leave to somebody, and you know they will find it just when they need it, because that's the way divine order works in our world. That somebody comes across that message, they might not even know they need it, but something about getting that at that point will all of a sudden put a little lift in their step. They feel like somebody cares, and that's the truth. You cared. You cared enough to leave that great message. Or here's another great one, since we're socially distanced and we're wearing masks for most of the time, that when you're driving and you're at a stoplight, you don't have to have your mask on in the car if you're not with anybody, and smile at all the other drivers, or that person that's on the corner looking for money, for food, whatever. Smile. And try it. Give yourself a goal that I'm going to keep smiling until I get 10 smiles back. I mean, that's one of the things I miss the most in this pandemic, seeing people smile. Lovely seeing them smile with their eyes, but there's something about the cheeks puffing up in that toothy grin, whatever, that just kind of, pitter-patters our hearts, right? And if you're feeling yourself a little stressful because of whatever's going on, and there's a lot of stuff going on, how about when you get up in the morning, you're having that morning coffee, or in my case, Diet Coke. Plan to do one kind act that day. Plan to write that note. Make that plan, because we know that very act of planning is going to shift how you start your day. I love that story of the woman that wrote this little phrase down that became actually a movement that happened in February. It was random acts of kindness, senseless acts of beauty. Random acts of kindness, senseless acts of beauty. So, what's a senseless act of beauty? Well, we're really surrounded by it. We're surrounded by it with nature. There's no intellectual thing happening about nature bursting into spring right now. It's just a senseless act of beauty that we get to enjoy. And this week, on Thursday, is the 51st Earth Day coming up. Started back in 1970. And when it started, it was all about restoring our earth. And, as humans, we are so arrogant. I don't think it's about restoring the earth. It's about stop being so unkind to this planet that is so kind to us, that keeps supporting us. To stop abusing it. I was thinking, we talk about nature as like Mother Nature. And if that's the case, Mother Nature is probably the #1 victim in the Me Too movement, right? I mean, Mother Nature has been abused by all of us around this planet. That won't even go into the many ways that we do that. So when the Earth Care Day first started in 1970, the first good thing that came out of it was the EPA was established in the United States, the Environmental Protection Act. Up until then, we didn't have anything to protect our waters. Look at Flint. We didn't have anything to protect our forest, our preserves, our air, all those things. So that was one of the things that a movement here in the United States started. And in 20 years, by 1990, there were 141 countries around the world involved with Earth Day. Isn't that nice? Since we all share this planet, that we kind of have this waking up to the fact, it's our responsibility to take care of it. And during this pandemic, the Earth has been so blessed. Just the difference in the amount of driving that we do, the reduction in planes, the reduction in cruise ships, just that part alone, there are waters and bays that are clearing up for the first time in decades. The air is cleaner. I read over in China, where they had to wear masks for the pollution, that the air became so much cleaner, they didn't have to do that. So knowing that our actions make a direct impact on this planet that is kind enough to allow us to live on it tells me something. It really calls to my heart that, it's up to us to make a difference on it. There's a Persian poet by the name of Hafiz, and he wrote this beautiful poem. He says, "We are house-sitting for God. We share its royal duties, watering each day a favorite potted plant, the earth." House-sitting for God. This is God's potted plant, and we get to take care of it every day. I was wondering, how do we get to the point that we were so careless about Earth, that we didn't think it would matter if we did this or that the Earth was so big that this puny little human couldn't do anything that would harm it. It just wouldn't make a difference. And ironically enough, I think it goes back to the first book of the Bible in Genesis. There's these wonderful myth of creation stories. And myths are written to help us understand a truth in a different and a deeper way. So in the first Genesis creation story has this mythology of these days of creation. You know, first God says, let there be light, and there was light. Yeah, works pretty good thing to start with, right? And then created the sky and the water and grounds, and then there was the stars and the moon and the sun. They were about 3 days into this creation process. And then this creative force creates the birds and the fish and every living thing, the wild animals and the livestock. These come into fruition until we finally get to the creation of man. And this is the verse that I think kind of veered us off. Because it says, let us make mankind in our image, in the likeness with dominion over the fish, the birds, every living creature, the plants, the trees. So along the lines in our religious studies, we were told we had dominion over everything living on this planet. And very often, you know, power, often begets abuse. Power sometimes goes to our heads, our intellectual heads, and we think because we have power, we have the right to abuse our resources or not make the best use of our resources. So I was looking at the word dominion, and dominion has this connotation of control, you know, having power over. But for me, what dominion means, if you are responsible, just like a parent has dominion over their child, I think it's about the response ability. What is our ability to respond to every living thing on this planet? And I would include rocks. I think rocks are living too, just at a slower pace than we can recognize. And that brings me to the idea of ecology, because the definition of ecology, it's a branch of biology, and it deals with the relationships of organisms. So in other words, we're talking about the community, we're talking about the population, we're talking about the ecosystem. Like right now as humans, we're very aware of the race systems, the systemic racism, the system that has been set up among humanity. Well, within our planet, we have this ecosystem that has been set up that has gotten way out of balance, that at least in the last year, some of that has started to self-correct, these systems that we're in. So as we're looking at these systems, I like the other creation story that says, in the beginning was the Word, that vibrational intention that was sent out to come into formation, manifestation. And oh yes, I do have a little thing in my toolkit to remind me of Earth Care. It's my Earth Day hat. I love bringing this out every year. I get to pretend like I'm almost a tree. I think the willow, you know, might let me go sit next to it if I had this on. So this just remind me that we are all part of nature, just as nature is part of us. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, last week I suggested the willow tree would like some hugs, and I was told there might be poison ivy growing around it. So until we get that set out, check. Some botanist will come and be able to tell me if that's what it is. So in the beginning was the Word, this speaking into being. And I heard a wonderful story this week by Brian Andreas, my artist, my favorite artist there. And he talks about this guy that wanted to go see the guru at the top of the mountain. And he starts walking up the mountain path. And he sees a sign that says, "Don't eat the rocks." Oh, what a strange sign. Goes up a little farther, there's another sign that says, "Stop eating the rocks." And all the way up the mountain to this guru is the signs that say, "Stop eating the rocks." So finally he gets up to the guru. And there, right in front of the guru is sitting there in this wonderful meditative position, and there's a sign that says, "Don't eat the rocks." And the guy says to the guru, "What is this about? Stop eating rocks. Why would anybody be eating rocks? It hurts you, it could break your teeth, you don't get any benefits out of it. Why do you put that there?" And the guru said, "Because when you stop eating rocks, then you can hear the truth." All of us eat rocks. We do those things that are not good for us. We do those things that are not good for the planet. Until we stop doing those things that have no value and actually do harm we're not able to live into that truth. We're not able to live into that shared spiritual awakening. And you know, probably the most rocks we eat are with our words, the things that we say, those things that just come out of us even sometimes without thinking. We speak things into fruition about exactly what we don't want to happen. We have that kind of focus. We bring that vibration of bringing things into being that are not things that resonate with our heart. So think about the language of ecology, of our system, of all the organisms on our planet. And right now, of course, I'm talking about our human language, the things that we speak. And there's an interesting thing about the English language. About 70% of our words are nouns. And then we have the verbs and the adjective. But there's the Cherokee tribe had a language called Potawatomi. And in their language, it was more verb-based as opposed to noun-based. Now, of course, noun is a thing, if you remember your English lessons, where verb has to do with an action. And just the feeling of, if you think about a noun, which is very staid, to a verb, which has this movement to it, shifts the way we think, which shifts the way we speak. So, for example, in English, I might say that that's a willow tree swaying behind me. In Potawatomi, the words would be, that is swaying as a willow tree. That is swaying, showing up as a willow tree. I could look at the water out there and say, oh, the pond water glistens. In Potawatomi, it would be glistening of the water showing up as a pond. You feel the difference of being in that verb and being in that action of being, as opposed to being that staid noun that says, there's a pond that happens to have water that is glistening right now. I focus on the thing, as opposed to the action that is coming into being, the glistening. You know, the beauty, that senseless act of beauty of the sunset last night that was lighting up the tree so perfectly. Wow. I hope you can feel that shift in your own thinking. Because what would our name be if we said, I am life showing up as Sharon speaking. I'm speaking showing up as Sharon. I am praying as Sharon, where the focus would be on the praying or the speaking as opposed to the personality. It'd be about that individual movement of spirit within us. I am gardening showing up as Sharon. Can you feel the difference in that? And you know, I think all of us have secret names. And I say names because at different times we show up differently. And this week, we had, Craig Young was out here, and he's been doing a lot of yard work around these great grounds. And he came into me and he said, I was talking to the big willow there, and the willow told me its name was Dominion. I go, wow, well, that makes perfect sense, because it's this huge tree that seems to have dominion over this whole area. And last Sunday after service, I was out with my dogs in the back 40 here, and I noticed there's this one big tree way back there that when we first looked at the property, Nancy, Cody, and I had seen these two large trees, and we said, they need to be on our land, because if it goes through development, they'll be cut down. And we just love these two trees. So I said to Craig, I said, if you go back out there, check with that tree at the far back. There's like 4 kind of big trunks that are all together. And he came back in about an hour later, and he said, the tree told me its name was Heartbeat. I go, oh, that makes such perfect sense, the heartbeat of the land. And if you think about it, all of us have that secret name that is that verb, that movement, that action of what it is and how we're showing up. Every living thing. And if you listen, you can hear it. And this is where our connection comes in, to learn to listen to the secret name of people around us. To listen to the secret name of people around us, the people that we love. And of course, to listen for our own secret name. So this is a really kind thing you can do for your ecosystem. Whether your ecosystem right now is your tribe, your bubble that you have formed, maybe you're thinking about the system of your yard, in your garden. Go out and sit in that garden as things are popping up into life and listen for its secret name. Your pet. Wow. We all, any pet lovers know that each pet seems to come with a specific purpose that fills our heart. Sometimes it's messier than what we want, but they are showing up as an action. That is their name. And of course, through all of this, to listen to our secret name, to hear the action that we are, that word coming into being in our own Genesis. So, as we go into a time of meditation, I want to go in with that idea that we are house sitting for God, that we are taking care, watering this wonderful potted plant that we call Earth. So I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable. Just enjoy that God breathing you. Just enjoy yourself as that verb of breath. And as you allow yourself to be the breath, allow yourself to relax into it, to unwind, to untense, to unseparate. As you meld into the oneness of beingness. We are presenting, for we are the word of creation moving into manifestation. We are the activity of the wisdom and the power of the universe showing up as us. We are a creation of the earth, even as earth is a creation of us, intertwined vibrationally, synchronized and activity, directed ultimately by love, so that each of us feels that activity of doing that expression of caring and kindness to the highest and best extent through which we are capable. We rely on the earth. The earth relies on us. This is us relying. This is us loving. This is us. Calm, centered, and awakening. Stepping in to the expression of us as action. We find ourselves expressing as calm and as peace. We find ourselves able to release fear and concern, knowing that we are protected in the deepest, most meaningful way by nature showing up as kindness. So we respond in kind, taking a deep, deep, deep vision of this ecosystem between us and Earth. Let our attention go down to our feet and feel that connection soar all the way down to this planet who is giving us kindness, that act of kindness every moment of every day through this unconditional support. And today, in this moment, we return the reciprocity of kindness by imbuing ourselves as the activity of love, the vibration of love, the willingness of love to connect and care, to show up as dominion in the way that we are able to respond, our response ability. The earth in this process begins its healing process of us, even as we express as healing for the planet. And in this silence, in this deep connection, in this ecology of oneness, we listen for our secret name. With a deep breath, we bring ourselves back into the room, knowing that we've begun a process of being that perhaps is different than it was a half an hour ago. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, and let us all hear each other's, or at least listen to each other's secret name. We are listening, showing up as listening. And I am so excited to listen to Elizabeth again as she comes up with Giants Fall. And I think of the giant trees out there, Dominion and Heartbeat. Okay, can I help you move? Let's move you over here in the center. Okay.
Everyone's telling you to let go of what you're holding to. It's too late, too far, you're too small, it's too hard. Throwing water on that spark, living deep inside your heart with oceans of reasons, things you're not seeing. But oh, maybe they don't know what you know. You're not alone, so don't you be afraid of giants in your way. With God, you know anything's possible. So step into the fight. He's right there by your side. The stones inside your hand might be small. Watch the giants fall. Watch the giants fall. We could really live like this, can't you imagine it? So bold, so brave, with childlike faith. Miracles can happen, mountains would start moving. So whatever you may face, don't you be afraid of giants in your way. With God, you know anything's possible. So step into the fight. He's right there by your side. The stones inside your hand might be small. Watch the giants fall. Watch the giants fall. Ask and believe. You're gonna see the hand of God in every little thing. Don't you be afraid of giants. small. Watch the giants fall. Watch the giants fall. Anything can happen. Miracles can happen. Watch the giants fall.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And now is the time we celebrate our abundance, both as a community and for each of us individually. Our new building has presented us with several opportunities to rise up to meet unexpected expenses. So it is especially important that we celebrate our prosperity as we continue to prepare our building to fulfill its destiny. So affirm with me in your hearts. We join efforts in thought, prayer, and action to increase our source of earthly abundance to meet all the needs of our spiritual home and personal needs. We bless the gifts that have been given and the gifts we are about to receive, and so it is. Amen. And thank you to each of you who continue to so generously support this ministry during this extraordinary time. We are very grateful for the love offerings this community has received from all its members, both online and through the mail. We are a tithing congregation, and it's with great joy that we share a portion of our tithes with our congregants' choice for the second quarter, the Greater Lansing Food Bank. They have done such a remarkable job responding to huge demands during this epidemic and pandemic. We thank them for their selfless work and know that our gifts will go forth to do great things. And even as we give thanks for the gifts that have blessed our Unity community, let's take a moment to celebrate the gifts that have blessed our lives personally. We get to practice that spiritual tool of gratitude, especially for our earth home and all that it offers to us. We have been blessed abundantly by the senseless acts of the beauty of nature. We may have received a random act of kindness. Whatever we have been blessed with this week, let us take a moment to express our deep appreciation for the love. And divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I praise, give thanks, and am glad. Now let's join together in our closing song, which is I Choose Love, followed by the prayer for protection.
Maybe Elizabeth would come up and join us.
Hey, that's a great idea.
We got the music right here.
I'll hang out over on this side because I don't have my mask on.
Okay, we're well distanced. Okay.
Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one tie that binds us. Can't be undone. I choose love. Each on the planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present. It's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one choice unites us. Let this be the one. I of God surrounds us.
The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God is within us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Yay! Thank you. Thank you. See you next week. Ben's going to take us out with that little bit of Girl from Ipanema. Get up and dance. Feel free.
Sax thing. After you're talking, like, oh.
Yeah, I see. Now I see why it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Just.
I didn't know you were going to.